Welcome everybody, welcome back to Girls Last Tour, episode 2. We're on 2 now, yay! It's only been a couple of days since I watched the first episode, and I thought I'd jump right back into it because it gives me a little bit of a feeling for a show to actually watch 1 or 2 episodes, maybe even 3, in very close proximity to one another, and then maybe make a pause that is a little bit bigger and process it and wait for the feedback maybe as well, right? But also because I don't have that much time in a week's time because my exam is coming up, so that will be a really cool thing for me to actually record this now and kind of get it ready for the release when I eventually decide to put it on Patreon and then on YouTube. And while I'm doing the exam stuff and whatnot, I can release these and then hopefully catch up quickly enough to actually get back into episode 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 when I eventually get back to everything regarding the channel and whatnot. Hopefully, in the best case scenario, you won't feel anything on that at all, and it will all be just smooth sailing on the channel. I really enjoyed the first episode, but obviously I did remember some parts of this episode from all the way back when I watched this years back in Tibu's reactions. Now, I never continued it because thankfully enough, right? Because back then I was busy with other stuff, and as so many of the series I am doing a reaction to right now, I do have series that I always wanted to get into but never actually gotten really into because I had other things to do. And one of the goals of this channel for me personally, right, a personal goal beyond just talking about philosophy, talking about psychology, and kind of also like sharing the general idea I have about psychology as somebody who's been in the material for a lot of years now and who's kind of just dug deep into that. Just having that implicit knowledge here and there and being able to bring that in. Beyond that, one of the goals was to actually get me to watch more interesting stuff that stimulates me as well intellectually and do that on a more consistent level, which is like the channel is kind of like almost like an incentive for me to keep going with something, even if it's maybe not as convenient to do it right now, even if there's like interruptions and whatnot, to keep some kind of consistency to it. And I have to say, so far, it's been really, really effective for me because I've watched so many cool series that I probably wouldn't even have started otherwise, that I would have taken me years to even get started, and maybe I would have stopped in the middle because was some like important life event or other stuff that was coming in the way. But yeah, this channel has been a godsend basically. I'm not religious, but you know, like that's how we say it, that's the quote. And I'm really thankful that I actually started every series I started so far, and I doubt it's gonna be different with Girls Last Tour. The first episode already had us asking very interesting questions about who are these characters that we've just met, right? What kind of life story have they been living? And also, what does it to us as an audience if we get presented with a narrator basically, or like a point of view that is so naive and so wide, right, and open in how they perceive things, because they are not tied down by preconceived notions or biases. They grew up in a very unique, very different from our modern reality kind of point of view, right? So it does something very interesting. It broadens our sphere of thinking while at the same time not making it as easy to come to actual conclusions at first, right? Because we are always looking at the world in a kind of, almost kind of like a fascination of the unknown, because these are things that, like, concepts and worldviews and living worlds that are so quite different from what we, in this case, you and I think it's Chi, but I'm not sure, are used to, right? And we have to go from our limited understanding of what the world is like and what we ourselves experienced and kind of take wild guesses at why these things happened in the past. Why did this war or why did these wars happen? Why do people get into conflict with one another? Why do they fight with one another and kill one another? What was the cause of that? Or the debate with the weapon, where it's like, I don't really need a weapon, I don't really feel the necessity, and then we have the moment later where you puts the gun in her face and she's like, I see, maybe I would have needed a weapon. Then I wouldn't be in this situation now. It's a very interesting, a very raw perspective, right? Like, it's not, we don't come to clear conclusions for a situation, but we are learning examples of interesting relations to one another where we can kind of take educated guesses as to why the things that happened in the past, the wars, the atrocities, whatever, the destruction of the world, why that did happen and why somebody would actually do that. And then we have, at the same time, we have this atmosphere, this atmosphere of adventure and wonder and awe at a world that is in many parts foreign to us, that is in many parts very, very mystical. This is what I'm getting from the series so far. But yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into episode 2. We are using the Asenshi subtitles this time. We'll see if those are better or worse, or if it's just no matter and they're both great. We're gonna jump into it in a 3, a 2. Oh yeah, for anybody who's new to the series, for anybody who's new to my reactions, maybe this is something I should be saying. Most of the time I have a timer up there, so you can sync it up. And I do warn you ahead of time if I have if I have a pause or something, because sometimes I pause the episode and then I continue it, right? So we're gonna have pause incoming, and then I'm gonna be like on pause soon, and we have a little like tiny timer under the main timer, which is running down to the point where I'm actually gonna unpause and continue playing. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to people who are actually syncing up and watching the full episode as I go through it, but also keep it mostly visually not too altered, so people who are not doing that still know what's going on. So we need to see how, for each series, we need to see how YouTube reacts to it and how we can deal with it. But yeah. Let's get this started. 3, 2, 1, go. Like frame 00, like 01 is most of the time it's gonna be the first frame of the episode that is visible.
What? Where are we exactly?
Oh god, no! This is English. This is English. Please make it stop. No, it was okay. It was okay. Yeah. We're gonna go to Japanese. Sorry for the false start. Yeah, like I said, the 01 up there, it's frames, not seconds, right? The first 01 that you see. And that's gonna be the first frame of the episode that is not black, where you see like some kind of visual from the episode itself. 3, 2, 1. Bam. I do wonder if we're gonna have a regular OP or if this is like just gonna be very, very much without an OP. Oh, much better. It's just because I'm used to it. Snow. Maybe you are. Yeah, she is the more serious one here. These musings are very interesting.
き玉作るのやめろ。楽しくなってきたのに。頭が重い。それにすごく寒い。ねえ知ってる？死後の世界ってあったかいんだって。だったら私たちはまだ死んでないみたいだな。
Because we're still cold. They might be on a frozen sea. Ooh, no, we have an OP. Bro, why is this so monogatari? Not 100%, but it's kind of like... Actually, I might source this entire like OP and put it in a separate reaction. All right, and we're back in the episodes. You all have probably not seen it, but I reacted to the OP and kind of analyzed it, so it's probably on YouTube if you see this, or on Patreon. If I can't get it on YouTube, I'll probably put it on Patreon. Is that like some old electrical station? Ooh, this is dangerous. They might be freezing. Yeah, you girls better hurry to get in there. What are these tunes? A sign? Surface power plant. Surface.
相当古い施設だ。入り口もわからない。ねえ、見て見て。どうした？あのパイプ、全然雪が積もってない。溶けてる。
It's warm.
暑いのか。
Is it still running? I don't know if that is a good idea, but... That's a thick pipe. Maybe if you hit the rupture. But for how long? Barrel. Take a bath. Okay. It's ice cold in a situation like this, yeah? And it's super hot when you get in, so... It is her name, great. Imagine how... melting. How rare it is to actually find something like this in a world like that. Yeah. Ooh, more information. The eternal human condition. And back to the cold. Journal. Okay. Are we finding a journal or are we starting a journal? She's writing a journal. A log. That is cool. You could read her out of it. Ooh, that shot. The preservation of information. What an approach. They are ancients. This is such a cool scene. Don't throw the book. I knew what she was gonna do. You weren't. I must have heard a lot. What are you doing? I'd be mad. I'd still be mad. I'm still worried about the books, but you know. Maybe she didn't throw them. So she does care. Alright. Holy shit, that vista. This must have been some crazy cyberpunk worlds before the war. Like the way that the buildings are structured and whatnot. Let's talk about this for a second. Just because I feel like it. I was really worried about the books because for a second I wasn't sure if, like, we have seen that pattern now, right? I'm still not sure if you actually didn't listen or if you was tempted to actually throw that book in because of what she was saying, right? Because it almost feels like she's doing that to test, right, what the reaction of her is gonna be. Almost like something comes over her and she's like, what if I throw the book in the fire? But because it didn't seem like carelessness, it seemed more like that moment with the gun earlier. Where it's like, what if I just put my gun in your face? What are you gonna do? Right? It's like, not in a mean or evil way, but more in a almost devoid of empathy, but like very explorative kind of way. Very problematic, actually, because it makes her unpredictable. It makes her, I mean, suspicious in some situations where you're like, please don't do anything. I got a weird feeling, right? Like, but I had that feeling with the book, and I was like, don't throw the book. Don't throw the book. But that could also just be the way it was presented to us, right? With the way the director put an emphasis like on it and made us aware of it for us to be like, okay, wait, like for especially for people who are literate with that kind of medium, to be like, okay, this is what I would do as a director if you would throw the book in the fire afterwards, right? But yeah, I actually misunderstood for a second, and I thought she actually threw her journal, like Chi's journal, into the fire, but actually didn't. Sorry about that. I just wanted to move the camera a tiny bit. But she actually didn't. She threw one of the books that she had found, like one of the 4 tomes that she had found, she threw in. So the journal, which is something that is highly personal to Chi, is still existent. So the book probably hasn't heard as much because she has read it already. So the thoughts in it are at the very least in her mind, even though obviously if you throw any of the books that I have right here into a fire, I would be pretty upset too. Especially some of the ones I like more. Although in this case, it wouldn't be as big of a problem. It would just cost me money because I could order a new one. But imagine you don't, like, it's the only thing, like, it's the only copy of the book in the entire world, at least for you. You don't know where else to find or get one, at least not quickly or not anytime soon. And somebody throws it away and you really like that book. So yeah, still annoying, still very upsetting, but not as upsetting. And you do see that she has that capacity to forgive relatively quickly, because she's like, okay, she didn't pay attention, or even if she did pay attention, she's kind of weird sometimes, and I'll forgive it because it's more important for me that we get along. It's more important for me that, and I like her more than the book, basically, right? I value our relationship more than I do value the book. I think she would have been more mad if it was her journal that she threw into the fire. And I think it is a very interesting, like, I was worried for a second when she was holding the journal, right? When she was holding it and looking at the fire and whatnot, because a second before that I was like, maybe she's feeling bad about it. And then she saw the journal and then she had it in her hand and looked at the fire and I was like, are you tempted to throw it in, or are you thinking about what to do now with the journal because you feel bad about it? And I'm glad that we came out of this the next morning with she feels bad about it and kind of doodled something into that journal, kind of to maybe put her mark on that as well and show her that she does not think the journal that she's keeping is a silly idea. It's almost like an acceptance and an approval of that idea of the journal, right? Although I do wonder what motive was behind her throwing that book into the fire, because I don't believe it was not paying attention. If anything, I do believe it might have been some kind of weird jealousy, but I'm not sure about that, right? It's like she cares a lot about these books, and this is not something I'm part of, and like not something I quite understand, so I'm gonna throw it into the fire and see how she reacts. Be that out of like an explorative impulse, as I've said earlier, or be that out of an impulse of like partially maybe like jealousy about the attention the books get and like the value that she ascribes to them. But might be wrong there. Still don't know the characters closely enough to actually say that for sure. But yeah, let's go on. What the hell is this angle? Holy shit. Fisheye. Water? Interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering that too. So there is some base electricity. And the water should be clean at this point because there's no sewage, right? Interesting how everything seems to be automated and still working despite everybody being gone. I mean, it's a great opportunity for us and a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. There's just something beautiful about things that are that are working efficiently in automation.
靴を脱がなきゃ。
Yeah, don't wanna.
よいしょ。
Yeah, the water that's coming out is cold. The water that's coming out is hot, but this one is cold.
全部真っ青だね、ちーちゃん。空にいるみたいだよ。足元気をつけろよ。尖ったものが流れてきてるかもしれない。上を向いて歩こうよ、ちーちゃん。上をさ。足元に気をつけろって言ってんだろうが。もったいないなあ。こんなに空が青いの。
It is beautiful.
こんなに空が青いし。今日は洗濯日和だな。
No rain. I like this. It's almost like very
寒い。
slice of lifey almost.
流されたら危ないだろう。深いところもあるし。ヘルメット取ったら転んだら危ないだろうが。なんだヘルメット。やっぱり結構汚れてるな。空ってなんで青いんだろうね。おいユウ、なんでまったりしてんだ。水なら汲んだが。お前も服を洗うんだよ。マジか。ねえちーちゃん、空ってなんで青いの？昔の人は海の青が映っているからなんて言ってたり。海？この水たまりよりもずっと広く深く水がある場所だよ。私たちの足元のずっと下にまだあるとかないとか。
Below us.
海のそばで暮らしてたらしいけど。
So are we like in the sky actually?
だから聞けよ。バカ、急に走るな。
Right. And we have a rainbow.
ヘルメットかぶっててよかった。ねえ、見て見て。なんでユウも濡れてんだ。かけた。それより見てこれを。
Ooh. Wait, we have fish?
魚だな。魚？死んでるみたいだが。魚って何なの？水の中に住む生き物だよ。昔は海とかにたくさんいたらしい。人以外の生き物なんてもう生き残ってないと思ってたけど。よし、食べよう。食べられるかな。
I mean, it doesn't stink, so.
昔の人は食べてたらしいけど、大丈夫かな。分解は始まってないみたいだけど。
But is it polluted?
ま、焼けば食べられるかな。焼こう。洗ったもの干してからね。ねえ、水の中に住むってさ、どんな感じだろうね。さあ、浮いたり沈んだり、ここのヒレをパタパタさせて進むらしいけど。ヒレ？あんな感じで泳いでたのかな。そうかもね。そろそろ焼けたかな。食べる。熱いから気をつけ
She's so gung ho about this.
あ、やった。あち。
Gotta be tough on the outside with the skin.
うまい。私もあんまり食べないでよ。
Never eaten fish?
初めて食べる味だ。変な味。
It is. Even for people who've eaten it before. If fish is unique.
綺麗になったね、服。こっちは肉が落ちてすっきりしたね。骨。すっきりって。でも、どこから流れてきたんだろうね。やっぱり上層からじゃないかな。排水に混じって。
How?
上の方へ行けばいっぱいいるのかな。いたらどうするの？食べる。
Is that the goal? All the way up or all the way down? Yeah, eating does tend to get you tired. That's cool. Oh, okay.
バイバイ。
See you, fish. Okay, I guess that's it. Another one in the back. Let me just... get it back. Alright, first of all... I still got some leftover pizza. Okay, let's go through it. I don't know if we will spend a long time going through it because it seems really relatively straightforward to me. Yeah, we're making our way through a snowstorm, which is very scary if you think about it, right? Like you have all of that snow. You're running up against time because you don't know how long you're gonna survive in this. In the beginning, it's kind of like winter wonderland feeling almost, and you're going through the snowstorm, and you're still warm, right? You're clad in, and you're just trekking through. We have like all of the jokes that we're playing here with the snowman that you is building. Again, we play off of each other's personality. There's a lot of characterization, passive characterization going on in this episode for us to get to know these characters more. Really cool how we do have that perspective shot of like this tower, and we see through the metal bars to frame them in, basically. All these little things that you can kind of play with. It's really cool. Yeah, really cool shot with the pylon. And we are continuing with the musings, right? Like, it's like, maybe we're already dead and this is the afterlife. And she's more serious. She's like, don't say things like that, while Yu is looking at her bemused. Really cool focus pull on like the bullet in the snowman as the nose. Right. And we're musing that they heard that the afterlife is supposed to be very comfy and warm and whatnot, and then she's like, well, then we can't be in the afterlife because it's cold as fuck out here. The really cool intro, I kind of went through that earlier on. Really cool. I do wonder if our goal is actually to make it up. If that's our general vague goal that we want to reach. It would be in line with what the OP is doing with all of the spirals. They are going upwards. All of these electrical landline pylons. And then she's almost falling asleep from the cold, which is crazy if you think about it. Also really interesting that Yu is having a medic's helmet on while she is having a normal like soldier storm helmet on. I mean, there's not a lot to be said. I think everybody, not everybody, but I think most people who live in either like a neutral temperate climate or a cold climate have been in a snowstorm before. It's crazy how fast the cold can really seep into your bones, like all the way down to the bone. You feel it so heavily inside of your entire body. It's crazy. And sometimes, like, then you stop feeling anything altogether in some of your appendages, fingers and toes and whatnot. And we get to a building which is like a surface power plant. Very interesting. We talk about surface power plant. surface power plant almost it suggests that this is the surface and we actually build cities into the ground, right? Underground. I do wonder if that is number 72. If that is the case. I can't read it, which means it's pretty old. Okay, right. I do wonder if this is the case or if it's just like, I mean, both can be the case, right? We built underground and we kept on the surface, right? And then we build into the sky as well. And what we see is a world that is absolutely at the maximum of its capacity. Every inch of the entire world has been colonized and built and is full of cities now. Almost like, it reminds me of like Asimov, who wrote a couple of really, really cool science fiction novels. Among them, the Robot series, where especially in the Robot series, we do have this description of all of these mega cities that are the size of an American, like of a US state, basically, and they are mostly built underground because the surface has become so inhabitable by general like human exploitation and pollution that you can't or you couldn't live there for the longest time. So these cities built that were like focused on absolute minimalism and absolute just like everybody got their necessities, and people spent their entire lives in these cities. Entire generations were spent in these cities, and they only moved in these cities. And they didn't even move by like cars. There's still like so old highway systems at the bottom, but most of the time, like at that point in time, they moved on like giant conveyor belts that moved at the speed of hundreds of miles per hour by them just stepping onto a conveyor belt and then stepping onto the next with a little bit of a higher speed and whatnot. And then there's like partially dangerous practices done by youths, where it's like conveyor belt hopping basically, and all kinds of shit that's happening there, with like a weird amalgamation of like minimalism and like almost socialist communist, like everybody only needs like gets rations, community showers and whatnot, everybody has a tiny home, to just like factories that if there would be a blackout for only like a minute or something, the nutrition or the needed electricity or whatnot of entire subsections of this mega city would be endangered and whatnot. And you have people that spend so like their entire lives in these cities and never ever were at the surface seeing the sun, which is insane. Like, but that's a really, really cool way to kind of describe these, like a very fascinating but also obviously in many ways very foreign vision of the future, but also kind of in some ways a very plausible one. In other ways not as plausible, but still, right? That is social commentary too. But we have these plants that are still working for some reason here, right? They're working, we see that later with the drainage system, on some kind of electricity, be that maybe renewables, right? Like maybe solar energy or wind energy or whatever. And they are automated enough for humans to not have to be involved, or somewhere up there humans still work and function and live, but then the sewage wouldn't be that clear, right? We have absolutely crystal clear blue water, so. But yeah, hot water, we're shooting the pipe, which is very resilient, but we'll get it done with teamwork. And there's only one thing to do, we'll take a bath. This face, like in the first episode, I really love these like squishy faces that absolutely 100% express an emotion. That is a mood. Yeah. But I know the feeling, right? You're almost freezing to death, and you can't feel your fingers anymore, and then you move into a warm space and they start tingling, and then you move very quickly into hot water and suddenly it feels like you're burning, right? Like it feels like you're burning, you're hurting yourself, despite the fact that the water isn't all that like hot compared to what you're normally used to, but you've been in the cold so long that this is like the difference in temperature is extreme. Yeah. The rarity of a bath, of a hot bath especially. And they talk a little bit about Chi-chan, about Grandpa. So I do wonder whose Grandpa it is, or if they just call him Grandpa because he's been an old guy, right? And maybe has has raised one of them. Or maybe he's just an old man that they've met for a while. But he is somebody that we have referenced now that exists in our world, basically. Or maybe exists dead, we don't know if he's still there, right? We don't know if he's still alive. He might have been the guy who sent him away, although the guy who sent him away seemed a little bit younger. Look at that. Like, that is like out of a fairy tale nightmare, you know what I mean? Everything snowed in. Like, once again, we do have these platforms and there's a lot of lower city. It almost seems like we're floating on islands in the sky, which is crazy. She's journaling and even like putting little drawings in there, which is really cool. I wish I could read it, but it's probably not even a language that actually exists. We find material for insulation, which is very important. We talk a little bit about books. That is a crazy, really cool, tilted, high detail shot. And it's really cool how we mirror like you and Chi in this one. Like you do have the two pieces of ammunition sitting by the fire and the rest of the gun in the background, which is like Chi and you sitting by the fire with the vehicle in the background. You playing with her gun and doing maintenance, I guess. Memories just get in the way of living. Interesting, right? I do wonder how she means that. If that's like traumatic memories just get in the way of living, or if it's like an approach, live day by day, and that's my style, right? I do think dwelling on the past too much is just gonna have you not focusing enough on the present. That is a philosophy that is out there a lot, especially by extroverts, that has some validity to it, right? Like living in the moment is a great thing, and dwelling too much in the past and worrying too much of what happened in the past can, of course, hinder your ability to focus your attention on the moment and live in it and enjoy it and act upon it. At the same time, Chi's philosophy of writing down the past in order to inform yourself for the future is also very important. And she's explaining that, right? She's saying like back in the day people used to write everything down since it was invented. They passed on knowledge, passed on stories, personal ones, right? And maybe also just left their mark. And I guess in a way that is what Chi's journal is all about. It's for the one on the one hand maybe cartographing the world in a way, the world that they've met, the journey they've been on, and pointing out useful informations and lessons learned on their journey, on their adventure. But it's also very important for her herself to actually write down a little bit something about her life. Maybe one day she could be old and be passing that on people that she's met along her journey, or she can share this unique perspective. It makes us feel as if, at least for many humans, it makes us feel as if our personalized point of view, our personal stories, parts and impressions that we made, experiences that we've had, they're not lost to the world. They are there and can be read and can be shared. And I think like many humans have that desire to share their own perspective, to to live in a like at least partially shared reality, to pass on parts of their own experience to other people. Comes out of many could be many reasons, right? And functionalities, out of a desire maybe to keep building the human species, right? But also out of like that need of recognition and maybe immortalizing yourself in some way. All or most of these are subconscious. They don't exist in a conscious mind. Now, obviously, we can make them, we can call them into the conscious and understand that this is something we value and why we value it and think about it. That is then metacognition, right? We think about how we think about things. And that's an interesting thing, right? Because we learn more about ourselves as we explore these topics and themes and discuss it with people that might see things differently. Yeah, I mean, I talked about you and possibilities. Everything we know about the past we owe to books. Let me just... sorry about that. Let me just speed that up a second. You've always liked books, haven't you? You read a lot of grandpas too. I thought most of them burned up. Right now we've got, excluding the journals, I didn't catch that. 1, 2, 3, 4 books, 4 volumes. Can I see? Akutagawa Kappa. You searched the whole world, I wonder how many you'd find left. Why did the books burn? Probably war, but also maybe somebody burned them. I see. Don't have much left to burn though. Boom. Let me see. I mean, maybe I'm interpreting more into this than I thought, but I still think there's some validity to that there is something else than just airheadedness and carelessness of her throwing the book in there. Maybe it's this specific book, or it's just her like having that urge to throw a book in there for some reason or another. It can be many, right? And we break the tension with humor. And we establish that we are mad. She's immediately going to bed. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I had that feeling before with people. It happens. She's looking at that book, sulking a little bit to herself. And then we have this image that almost makes it seem like, should I throw this one in too? It could be a fake out, right? It could have been a fake, like, I still don't, even after the fact and me knowing, oh, yeah, she didn't do it in the end. I don't know if it's a fake out or if it's I had that impulse, but I resisted it because I saw it hurt she and I don't want her to be hurt by it, right? I saw the reaction the first time, I learned my lesson. Even though I would like to do it. And instead, what am I gonna do, right? I'm gonna doodle into, right? As a sign of affection, a peace offering, but not in the sense that tomorrow I'm gonna be like, yeah, look what I did, but just in the sense of like, when she opens it up again, she'll see that I've drawn into it. Like a passive peace offering kind of deal. And you do see that in the beginning of the day, kind of not talking a lot to her. She's a little bit still kind of ambivalent on that, right? And we break out to a vista that is so gleaming and beautiful, right? What is more beautiful? I mean, there's a bunch of things, but it's up there, right, in terms of beauty. When it comes to a landscape that is full of snow in the glistening sun, that is something really, really breathtaking. I can almost feel the cold air seep into my lungs and make their way out in like a cloud in front of me as you stare into the white of the snow that reflects all of the sunlight back. That is beauty. Maybe the beauty comes from the difference, right? The contrast of the two. That they can exist at the same time, right? The warm, bright sun and the cold snow. Make it through the snow. At least we still have the journals, an interesting reflection in her eyes. Not sure what she's thinking. They're basically like books once they're filled up. Did you doodle something? Maybe like the reflection of her eyes is like her paying attention if she opens the book and sees it. And we do have that little moment here where she's like thinking about it for a second and then smiling wryly. And we're back to being okay with one another at this point in time. Again, oh holy shit, the scale of this. I'm sorry. No, not the I'm sorry. Almost looks more like you than it does like Chi, but I mean, yeah, whatever. Her sleeping maybe with ruffled hair. A lot of these shots are really cool. I do love this one, which is like the foreboding, and then we match the roundness of the pipe by making it fisheye. The snow melt. Interesting. I do wonder if this is like a mechanism where it's like doesn't even need electricity, where it's like a sewer drain in the way that like the snow melts from the heat, right? And then it flows into the sewers, and when a certain like weight is reached, then the sewer gates are like mechanically drained, basically. That is a possibility. But then again, we have hot water still. You have hot water in the pipes, which is still working as well. It can't be working if it isn't heated up by something. I mean, obviously it could be geothermal plants or something of that sense, but even that needs electricity to run. Blue sky. Going down all of these stairs to the clear water. Taking off the shoes so we don't dirty it. This is, holy shit, this is such a beautiful anime. Not gonna lie. Look at these. The reflections in the water and the symmetry of the streams. The slight fog building itself here, right? Like hanging over the water surface in the morning sun. It's mystical. Forlorn, mysterious. And we're looking at the blue sky. And those titles are her laundry titles. 100%. And she's always the responsible one, right? She's like, we don't want to get swept away, let's bind ourselves together. I don't want to fall on my head, so let me keep my helmet on. Serious. Not serious. I wonder why the sky is blue. What a question. What a question, holy shit. He's like, I already did my part. You do the laundry. You lazy bum. Why is the sky blue? People used to say it was reflecting the ocean or something. It's a funny thing, because that's actually the other way around, right? It's like the ocean is blue because it's reflecting the sky, and the sky is blue because of the light, right? Sunlight is coming in through the atmosphere, and if I remember correctly, the light is actually how do you say, like it's spread, it's fractured differently when it meets the gases of the upper atmosphere, depending on its wavelength. And since blue light has a very short wavelength, it's spread more, and that's why you see the blue reflection of the, or the sky is blue when it's clear, basically. Because the blue color is the most short wave color, basically. That's why when you talk about, like, I mean, I guess sunlight is like ultraviolet, but you don't see violet up there, right? Like it's the way it filters through the upper atmosphere that is making the blue color of the sky. And the ocean and the water is actually blue because of that. Because it reflects that. But it's cool how a saying like that is getting turned around when you don't have clear sources of information, right? It's more word of mouth or something. It's like telephone, a game of telephone. And then like you pass in, and like people used to say that the ocean is blue because it's reflecting off the color of the sky, and then it goes all the way down to G here, who's like, I think people used to say that the sky was reflecting the ocean, and that's why it's blue. And we talk about the ocean, which is like a giant body of water. She's saying something very interesting here. Wait. Where's the sky blue? A huge place filled with water, way bigger and deeper than this little pool. It might still be there below us, all the way down. All the way down suggests that it's very, very much, like, far down. Right? Almost like we're in the sky. Like we're somewhere in the atmosphere, basically. I heard that people used to live next to it. Yeah, it was the cradle of life, basically. This is where we came from, the ocean. And obviously we settled there. Because not only has it fish, it also is a very good source of fresh water, because most rivers, not most, I don't want to say it like that. A lot of rivers flow into the ocean. And rivers are a source of life because they have drinking water. They don't have, they have sweet, non-salted water. Or at least the salt content is not dangerous for us, right? We can consume it. So the land surrounding a river is very fertile for growing food, for humans themselves, right? And obviously the water that we do have in our rivers, it comes from the ocean original, right? The water in the ocean becomes gaseous, and sometimes I have a little bit of a problem expressing these concepts in English all the time, right? Sometimes the words don't come to me as naturally, but yeah. They evaporate, exactly. That's what I was looking for. The water evaporates from the ocean, it goes up, right? It collects itself, it collects into clouds. The clouds are being driven over land, basically. And at some point in time, it meets weather conditions where it is ready, where rain is ready to fall down, or it meets the mountains where there are certain conditions that make the rainfall a lot more probable. Again, not a meteorologist, so I don't know the ins and outs the top of my head, but I have a general concept of it, of course. and then rain falls, right? And as water evaporates, like as ocean water evaporates, it is separated from its salt content. I do think. I don't remember exactly. Actually, do let me know if that's correct, because I don't know if it's separated from its salt content as it evaporates into the sky, or if it's separated from its salt content as it when it has made its way down and has been filtered through a lot of stone, right? A lot of like mountain, basically. Because I don't know if that's the case, if it's like if it needs to filter through the ground in order to separate from its salt content. First time eating a fish, right? Like, it's very interesting how, like, where does the fish come from, right? If it's like somebody must have put it there. If we're not on the ground, ocean level, whatever, right? Or in the mountains or something. We're in a big city that was built like all the way up above the ground level. Then the fish must have come from a pool where the fish was actually set out, or where they like bred these fish basically to have them in little ponds or have them to eat or something. Or yeah, somehow they must have made its way into the sewer system, and somehow it must have come downstream. Yeah, obviously it could be like another case where it's like the salmon, where it's swimming upstream and like jumping upstream and whatnot, but that's less likely, I would say. Either way, very, very neat, very cool. I love the perspectives that we're using, like from the fish, looking at it, being like, I wonder what it's gonna taste like kind of like also delaying it a little bit and then trying it out, and for effect we're tasting, we're waiting, and I'm like, it's good. It's good. And we're lying there looking at the sky. Jokes here and there. Tilted perspective. Holy shit. Like, it's almost like you're looking down, but you're looking up actually. And here we see it for the first time. Well, I didn't even peek that one. That was wild. Not just like the way that we have like almost Midgar vibes when it comes to just like the structure of this, or like, I don't know, Deus Ex 2020, like Deus Ex Human Revolution with like Shanghai, for example. We have like pillars holding up this upper crust city, whatever, however that's supposed to work. Not only that, like we have a lot below and we have a lot above, but also how blocky it is. It's almost like reminding me of like Soviet style buildings where we do have like very structured blocks of things happening. Really interesting how this entire thing is systematically built. Yeah, that is something for scale. Holy fuck. I think we'll find more if we go up. Maybe that is our impulse to go up. I do wonder what these little things are that are at the end of our like of the water surface that's falling down. We eat them, I guess. Ah, and the slight breeze coming in, and it's warm. You just relax. We have the nice ED here with all of like the journey, and maybe even just like kind of like an illustration of a drawing that we are putting into the journal, basically. And it's very interesting how it... Oh, that's a cool shot. Upside down fans. Almost like the buildings are almost upside down, growing upside down. Holy shit. But yeah, how this ED paints the picture of But it's like we're the only two people in the world, but can't we stay together like that, right? Almost like it's everything of it is like a bliss, basically. Right. And that's it. Girls Last Tour, episode 2. Very interesting. Very interesting, very cool, very enjoyable in general. I do hope I actually recorded that, because as I'm seeing just now, the screen recording seems to have stopped for some reason. No idea why or how, but if not, I might have to... Holy shit, that might be really difficult to put in, actually, talking about all of these things. Ooh, I do hope this didn't stop really early. Well, we'll figure it out, I guess. I'll be seeing you next time on Girls Last Tour. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that stuff. Yeah, see ya.